Thank you. Hello, and welcome to Empowerment Through Cosplay. I am Drea. I am going to be moderating, so I'm going to be asking these lovely ladies questions, and you will also, as an audience, get an opportunity to ask questions toward the end. But I would like to introduce our panelists. First, we have Michelle Felux. She is the proprietor. Did I mispronounce it?
You're good.
Okay. I spelled it out phonetically, so, but she's the proprietor of Willow Moon Healing. And then we also have Gwen Steele, who is owner of Steele Chick, which is marketing, and then also Steal Away Weddings, in which she acts as an officiant. So let's give them a hand. Welcome. So the way this is going to go, as I said, I'm going to be asking some questions. They will get a chance to share their stories and their experiences with Empowerment Through Cosplay. And then towards the end, you as an audience will get a chance to ask questions if you want to. That is what the mic is for. So let us start out. First of all, where does the term cosplay come from?
Do you want to hit that one? So it's a shortening of costume play. Which can be anything. I think it took off mostly at the Comic-Cons and back when they started having trade shows based on movies, sci-fi, and people wanted to be the characters and dress up. So it became from costume play to cosplay. They just shortened it. And again, it could be anything. Like our lovely panelist is dressed up just in vintage. It could be however you want to dress that you're playing a character.
So how does it symbolize empowerment?
Well, I think that it's a representation of who you are. It can be also a representation of who you'd like to be or who you see yourself as, and it's limitless, which I think is very important in being happy, being true to yourself, and that there is no bounds depending on which fandom that you're into, and you can really just run with it and let your imagination take you where you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's also maybe like you said, what you want to be, like a characteristic you want. Like if today I need to channel some power, I'm gonna dress up as Wonder Woman. If today I need to channel just being magical and feeling happy, that's when I usually wear my unicorn stuff, because it just makes me happy. So yeah, it's empowering me to somehow feel something maybe I'm not feeling, maybe I want to feel, or maybe I want to show to the world. So
awesome. So you mentioned that cosplay's been around for a while, and you're talking about how you take on the persona and you become what you're dressed as. Is there research behind this? What is the research behind this?
Glad you asked, as my phone just went, there we go. So I'm gonna look at some notes here.
Yes.
So the research I found was influence on behavior, which I found fascinating because that's how I just described, like I'm not in the greatest mood, I need to get stuff done today, I'm gonna wear something a little Wonder Woman-y. So Adam, it's two Adams. A person with the last name Adam and a person with the first name Adam. They're out of Northwestern, and they came up with the term unclothed cognition, which refers to a way that clothing influences people's psychological processes. So they had people wear different lab coats, like white lab coats, and do things, and then they had them wear painter's coats and do things. And the people that wore the lab coats actually felt like they were getting more done. They felt smarter about it. They felt that they knew what they were doing. So that could be anything from a power suit, which I used to do in corporate world. I would wear an outfit that made me feel powerful because I knew I looked great in it or it just fit me well, to maybe you do want to be not empowered, maybe you want to relax more.
Yeah.
So maybe that outfit is more, I need to take it easy. So maybe I'm going to channel a character that isn't as gung-ho, I guess, but the research does show that actually wearing a costume, wearing some kind of cosplay, wearing some kind of, so I'm going to show off my Wonder Woman socks. I used to wear these under like regular suit pants, and some people would see them, some wouldn't, but that influenced my behavior, and they said it either influenced how you are to others or just how you feel internally while you're doing something.
And I think that I think we've all experienced that. I mean, how many of us have not come home and put on our PJs, and that tells our brain it's time to relax, and it keeps the type A personalities from continuing to sit down. So I get that. I would also assume that it's not only that you're wearing it and you're feeling it, but is there a difference in how other people treat you depending on what you're wearing?
Yes. It can be good and bad, depending on the environment. A lot of times though, it does help you just feel good. Last night I was in my pirate garb for the contest, and I do feel when I wear it, it is something where I do feel empowered. I'm a pirate captain. There's people below me, and I walk around, and it's evolved over time. But also the feedback that you get when you are dressed up, whether it's very elaborate or a lot more low key, is positive. People like to see that, and they comment, and that makes you feel good. Just a simple comment. Hey, you look great. Hey, you look cute. Hey, that's awesome. And I think that it feeds being positive and being nice to each other, and even just in a very simple way.
Yeah. Last night I was the Gal Gadot, the newest version of Wonder Woman, full outfit, and every time I wear that outfit, I feel like I can pretty much hold up this entire world on my shoulders and kick some butt. And people do treat me differently when I'm wearing that outfit. They either are in awe, and I could never do that. I don't know why they're out in public, or
Right.
I'm sure there's some people who think I look like an idiot. Honestly, they're like, "Why are you out in public like that? Why are you in my space?" I guess, but I'm not. I'm just doing my thing. Wearing my my Wonder Woman outfit. I feel very super powery in that. Today I did a little more low key, and I have my more red, white, and blue outfit on, and I have my "Not All Princesses Need to Be Saved," because I also believe that outfit. And the negative side, though, like you said, how there is sometimes people are going to treat you in a way that you're just aware of all of a sudden. Being a female, sometimes some men can give me a look because I'm wearing an outfit that makes me, makes me seem something different in their mind, but I can't control that.
No.
I can't control what other people are thinking or what they're doing, so in essence, it's practicing how not to worry so much about everybody else and just do your thing.
So you mentioned the pirate costume, and I don't know if any of y'all were here last night. The pirate costume was amazing, and even now, you're wearing this. And so, when you talk about empowerment and the personal empowerment that you want to feel every day, how elaborate does that have to be? Because don't get me wrong, I look amazing.
Yes, you do.
You can't teach math like this, so how elaborate does your cosplay have to be to give you that sense of empowerment?
It doesn't have to be elaborate at all.
Okay.
It can be a matter of what your budget is, what time you have, the environment you're going to be, if you're teaching math or you're actually at a con. And even if you're at a con, I think there's undue pressure that's put onto people to have these elaborate costumes, and that's just not realistic for the vast majority of people. And it can be something as simple as the Wonder Woman socks. I have, different funny socks that I like to wear that they just make me feel good. I look at them and I smile. And sometimes that's all that needs to happen to be able to get through a day. It doesn't have to be a whole put together look that's time involved and money involved.
Yeah, just like you said about going home and putting your pajamas on. So I brought all my props because why not? I have unicorn slippers, and when I come home, I put these on, and they just make me happy. People know I like Wonder Woman, so I get gifts. So I have 2 different sets of slipper socks that are Wonder Woman. I could just put those on and feel good. But to your point about it could be, I think some people think coming to a Comic-Con or coming to a convention, you have to do all this elaborate stuff. You don't. I could have just put on the gold gloves. These are stickers these little jewel things. I have a pack of them that I got, there's like 8 sets in there for like $6, and what if I just wore those to a thing? Again, I don't know if I would teach math with them, but maybe if I was in science and teach you something about crystals, I might wear them. I have 2 different unicorn horns. I actually have a lot of headgear because of other jobs that I've had in the past and getting people excited. Because that's the other thing I noticed is if you do one little thing, it allows someone else to do that little thing. You acting a certain way allows them to let their barrier, they're like, oh, that person did it. So you're actually helping other people let down their barriers about it. So I used to work in minor league baseball, you know, the weirdo in the middle of the field that made you do games between innings. I was that. And the reason I have elaborate headgear for different things. I still had my uniform on, but I was because that allowed people to go, oh, right, we're just at a ball game. We're just having fun. It's an indicator. And so if you are feeling a little nervous about it, just know that you're indicating that it's okay to have fun, or it's okay to wear a headband with a horn on it, or wear face jewelry, or, oh yeah, I keep forgetting I had this on too. It's okay, and it doesn't have to be super elaborate.
Okay. Speaking about inspiration, can y'all speak to where you get your inspiration for your costumes? Specifically, as a curvy plus-size woman, I can't always look to the most well-known characters. Like I love Harley Quinn. Not a whole lot of her costumes are going to work for me. They're not going to work for my body type. So when it comes to body type, as vast and various as it is, how do you find inspiration that can be translated across body type no matter what?
I think some of it is also where if there's a specific character or a style that you like, that you can just adapt it to you and just own it anyway.
Fair enough.
And, you know, maybe, you know, you don't want to wear Harley Quinn's booty shorts. But so then, you know, wear what makes you have your interpretation of Harley Quinn.
So maybe Harleen Quinzel, I could dress as her.
Sure.
Because that has a little, and it's the, you know, lab coat's a little bit more accessible.
Oh, the lab coat.
Yeah.
Or yeah, or just do headgear
The jester?
or something on her arms, or even the weapon.
I like that.
You can just wear that.
And I've done that myself. One of my first costumes that I ever made was a Boba Fett costume. And Boba Fett has been my favorite Star Wars character since the, you know, 5 lines that he has in the original trilogy. And, you know, and this was, you know, before a lot of fan films and now that we have The Mandalorian on TV, so now we see female Mandalorians. So I just did the best I could. You know, for me, that was in college, so it was a different frame than I have now, and so I just adapt. And a lot of when I do vintage attire, very strictly correct vintage is not the size that I am right now. In fact, usually when you start looking into the historical pieces, we would be called stout women back then. And so a lot of the strictly actual vintage clothing that I've been able to source, I cannot actually fit into. But there are a lot of reproductions where you can still get that look.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of it is just adaptability, and you own it, and I still feel great anyway.
And to your point, I would also wonder if one of the reasons that there are female Mandalorians in the show now is because we had a lot of very brave cosplayers that made their own costumes and said, we exist.
I love to think
you got to
that, yeah.
represent us. I love to think that that's why.
I think that's exactly right. You're pushing the boundaries. So the more people who are, they don't think they're the right size for something, the more you keep showing up out there, they're going
Right.
to, oh, that's a market.
Yeah.
We need to get that out there. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like Maya Angelou said, when you show up for yourself and you show up authentically as yourself, you belong where you are.
Yep.
I love it. Perfect. Awesome. So can you speak to what individuals can own this empowerment? What group does this belong to? Like, who can be empowered by cosplay?
Everyone.
Everybody.
And that's a simple answer.
Everybody.
And that's the answer I was
everybody.
expecting you to give. Can you
Well,
elaborate?
So I have, of course, go ahead. I'll pull my note up about this. I'll read it. I'll go off of you.
Well, it can be, and I think again, it's just it's adapting, and because a lot of this can be from what I mentioned earlier about it being limitless. So it's only what you can imagine. And we can take classic characters and classic genres and expand them so they can be inclusive to everybody. And I think, like what you mentioned, with Mandalorian, that we're seeing, and there needs to be more of that. And I think that it takes people doing it anyway. And so then others can see that, like, oh, well, they did that. Well, then I can do that.
Right.
And I think it keeps pushing the boundaries to where then it can't be ignored.
Right. You're normalizing it.
Yes.
Right. And I would add on to that, if you're feeling lonely, if you dress up, you've found a community.
Yeah.
If you're having negative emotions, like you're feeling shy, or dressing up as a character allows you to work those emotions out and not, you think you're pulling from a character, but you're actually pulling from inside. But that dressing up allows you to pull from inside, and you get the ability to be bold and courageous because you're wearing a character that's bold and courageous. And so now, believe it or not, there's a whole group of people who think you're this bold, courageous person. There's many people in this community who think I'm Wonder Gwen all the time. I'm not. I'm sometimes not Wonder Gwen, but the putting certain things on allows me to tap into those emotions. People with accessibility, people in wheelchairs, people who have mental disabilities, dressing up, just like with any art form, allows them to express themselves, allows them to feel like they're not in the chair, they're not in crutches, they're not blind, they're not a certain color, they're not a certain race. It allows them to feel open to anything. Any of these characters can be a little bit of all of us. I don't wear the dark wig when I'm Wonder Woman. I'm blonde Wonder Woman. Negative things, I've had people tell me, then you should be Supergirl because she's blonde. And I'm like, I'm sorry, walk away from me, please. Yeah. I'm Gwen as Wonder Woman. I'm Wonder Gwen. I don't want to cover up my hair. I want to be powerful. So, it's whatever side you want to be and what you want to pull out of it and how you want to express yourself. So it's pretty much everybody. Yeah.
And Diana would approve.
And I've seen people incorporate, depending on what's going on with them, into their outfits. There was someone at the contest last night that we were talking to at the end, and he wanted to do something different, and he ended up having to have his foot in a boot, and he's on a crutch. So he did a character from Newsies.
That was in a crutch.
And so incorporated that. So he still came out anyway, so he just adapted.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've seen other people that have done that, and I love that. And I think
That is
that's
amazing,
also part of what cosplay and dressing up is all about.
I know it was big on, it was a meme or a little video that everyone was sending around about the family that built now I'm going to get the name of it wrong, even though I know Star Wars stuff. The floaty thing. Oh, shoot.
The hovercraft.
Land speeder.
Yeah.
Thank you. Land speeder. They made that around the wheelchair.
Yep.
And so when they rolled, it looked like just a person sitting in a land speeder.
Yeah.
It was freaking cool.
And so what I'm hearing too is that anybody can be a cosplayer no matter your level of skill or anything like that. But I do have to ask, what are some very niche off-the-wall skills that you have learned building your cosplay?
Ooh.
And how'd you learn them?
Ooh. That's a good one.
Like, I'm assuming some sewing is involved.
Yes, so
Not necessarily.
Not
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, and I would love you to speak to that because I can't sew.
Well, so there's two things. I, thankfully, even though I hated it as a kid, learned how to sew. My mom sold sewing machines, and we didn't have a lot of money, so we had to make our own clothes and our own Barbie clothes, and I didn't get anything name brand because we had to make it. Anyway, but now I'm thankful. But there's a lot of hacks, too. The hem tape. They just iron and it glues fabric together. There's a lot more things to do at the craft shop now with glues and paints and all that fun stuff. Just thinking outside the box, like cutting up boxes and making things that the way you paint it can make it look a certain way.
Yeah.
It's more about how it looks in general, not the detail, because you're the one looking at the detail because you're making it, but everyone else is looking at your whole costume or your whole look up, so they're not looking at the details. So kind of step away from it and just see it at a glance, not that oh, this isn't painted right. But yeah, crafty things I've made, I've sewed. Sometimes I've just blown up a picture of something and actually taped it on things because I know I couldn't paint it, type of thing. Yeah.
Hey, the message gets out there.
When I was building my Boba Fett costume, so this predates YouTube. That is a huge resource now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Back in the day, we
was
had
not.
message boards. And so I found a message board
Wow.
that went into on how to build a Boba Fett costume. And so I utilized that. And so a lot of it is just being able to do your own research for inspiration on how to build things. It was from that message board that the armor was a type of plastic called Sintra that I found a place that would sell to regular people, it came in like 8-foot sheets or something, and I went there and I had called beforehand and they said, yes, we do sell that, and I showed up and they didn't understand why I would buy that, and I told them why, and I'm building a Boba Fett costume. And I think they were more confused than they were when I first showed up, but that's how I learned it. And so I didn't have access to vacuum forming, which is a lot. At least I honestly don't know if that's what people do still for armor. Back then it was. And so being able to just be resourceful. A lot of things that I do now, especially when I do like vintage looks, is I've learned, consignment stores and thrift shops. And again, yes, the interwebs is a wonderful place to be able to find inspiration, and then also where you can acquire some of the pieces or the looks or how to do something. And if it's a hack, like I don't sew well. The sewing that I have done as far as skills would be, I do Civil War reenacting, and so my impression is a female dressed as a male Union soldier. And so that is a lot of skill set that I've had for stitching, but from the period of the 1860s. So it's very interesting, different type of skill set that I don't know how to apply for modern day sewing.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think it's transferable. Well, and I think you hit on a point there. It's troubleshooting and problem solving.
Yeah.
Like that's a skill that's hard to teach in a class. You got to let people make mistakes, which is the other great part about making a costume is year after year I'll wear something and go, oh, you know what? This I need to fix this for next year, and I need to find a better way to do that this year, or changing of sizes. I was also telling them that the one I made for myself Wonder Woman outfit I can't fit into anymore. But because it was very form fitting, and I did that on purpose, and now it's a little tight. So working around those and being okay with that, and going, you know what? Then I'm in a different phase of my life, and now I'm just going to make it look this way. And I think what I'm going to do is actually take the two, because I bought a bigger one. I think I'm going to take the two and kind of morph that into it.
Love it.
And I was telling them last night, I don't have the sword and the shield yet. I never had those as part of my thing, mostly because every time I was wearing my outfit, I was somewhere where I didn't want to carry anything. But I want to add to that. So it's just like, how can I do that? And I almost want to do it in a way that's not traditional.
Right.
Like, I don't want to just buy the shield. Yeah, I could do that. I have a good job now. I'm not trying to scrape money by, but I think I want to make it, because then I can make it cool looking, or say that I made it.
Or personalize it in some way.
Right, exactly.
I love that. So it's kind of a mix between good is better than, or done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Like you're there, you're showing up. It's not perfect, but you're there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
also embrace the process.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes.
So
It's always
good,
a process,
Good
yeah.
balance between those two. Like show up, but then make it better next year.
Well, and that's a key thing is, like my pirate outfit, for instance, that has accumulated over time, and it wasn't all done, and every time, and the vast majority of that outfit has been from artisans at the Maryland Renaissance Festival. So I don't have that personal skill set.
Right.
So I value those that have that skill set, and so then I can acquire then quality pieces from people that know what they're doing, but it's over time. So
Right.
and in fact, there's some times where I don't want to go to the Ren Fair because I usually then want to pick up pieces, and
now she needs a second job.
so sometimes it's but it's over time. It's not
Right.
overnight, and that is also part of the fun. And then it can become interchangeable. And I have other looks that I do that I've amassed over time. So I have pieces from my pirate that I use for a goddess outfit that I have with horns, and
Love it.
I think what you just said, what just struck to my mind was community. She just built a community around her outfit. Now, and I think at a lot of cosplay events, no matter what they are, that's how you get to talk to people too. Like, hey, I know a way you could fix that, or hey, can someone help me? Just like an online forum or YouTube, now you're in person talking to them, but now you have this community at the Renaissance Fair where, oh, you know how to do that, great. Now you're part of my, kind of like part of my dream, part of my persona, which I think we all should help each other anyway.
Absolutely.
But now I can look at my outfit over time and go, oh, this person helped me with this one helped me, or I went to this event, or it's almost like souvenirs from each time maybe you wore it out. I don't know.
I love the idea too that the way you're describing this process is again very symbolic of empowerment, because empowerment is not a one and done thing or you automatically feel empowered like a switch. No, it's a growth process, just like building a costume. So even more reason that cosplay is symbolic of the empowerment. I love it.
Or I don't know all the answers.
Yes,
that's
I love
actually
that.
very empowering.
Yeah.
Help me. Like, that's very empowering. Letting other people come in and help you with it.
I love it.
That's great.
So audience, something I want you to think about. Think about those of you who have cosplayed, who are cosplaying, or have ever done it before. How does your cosplay, like how do you feel when you are cosplaying? And then I'm gonna ask that to you as well. How has it made you feel as though you belonged? Like you mentioned tribe, you mentioned community. What was the moment that you were in cosplay and felt like you had found your tribe or your community? And describe that moment for us.
Is it your Renaissance Fair people or no? No?
So I'm a little bit of a rare bird in that I don't have a lot of close friends that cosplay or dress up.
Oh, that's why we're together. Neither do I.
At least not anymore. And that is fine. And it empowers me to do, and I can go, I think that's a later question about how we got into it. So for me, I don't necessarily have as much of a community, but I will, though, touch on this, is that between last night and then today, I dress up and walk around town, and for no reason, because it's a Tuesday.
And it's awesome.
And however, being here in this type of environment is that I don't have those, oh my gosh, what the heck are you doing? Or, oh, that's kind of weird. Or I'm accepted. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so even though I don't have, my own community per se, I can come into this where I don't know the vast majority of people here, and I already feel like I'm in a community.
Yeah, that's where I was going to. And I have 3 points on that. One is, I thought I was the only one that liked to dress up, but as I think about it more, I have a friend, Kim, who loves anything sequence. She loves sequence, but if you talk to her, she looks very non-sequency type of person. She's very plain, matter of fact, gets down to business. She's a teacher. And then you'll realize, oh, she's wearing weird pineapple flamingo earrings. And then every time she has a get-together, she finds a way to wear a sequin shirt, a sequence, something sequency. And on her birthday, she wants all of us to show up in something sequency. So I thought I didn't have friends who dress up. They just don't do it out in public as much. Also, the same person, we had a get-together where we wanted everyone to wear a certain color, or it was a holiday. Holidays are a great way of seeing who likes to dress up. So St. Patrick's Day or Easter or their birthday or 4th of July. You'll see people wearing variations of things because of the holiday. That allows them. Now they have a reason. the two of us don't need a reason. I think that's the difference.
We gave our own selves permission.
Yeah, we just, and she's actually right. So my second point about that is, so I found that you asked that and I think about my friends, they all have their own thing, if I really think about it. Number two is, I really feel comfortable walking around in Culpeper. Maybe it's, I don't care, but then recently, and I'm gonna get that story, that's my third point, I wasn't in a group of people who did treat me differently. So then I went, oh wait, I live in a town, if I walk down the street with a cat on my shoulder and a cape, no one, either they don't bat an eye or they're actually excited about it. I have had so many people, so if anyone doesn't know, I'm the weird lady that walks around with a cat on her shoulder downtown. His name is Bodie. People stop me, oh my God, can I take a picture? Sure. And we had that last night. You want to take a picture of me? Sure. You had that too. It's really great. Do you want to take a picture of me? I can wear my tiara, I can wear my unicorn horn, I can wear the cape, I don't have to hide certain things, and I actually feel really comfortable in this town doing that. And again, maybe it's I'm at a level where I just don't care. But last weekend, I was at a conference, and the theme for the Saturday night party was patriotism. And a lot of people thought that meant wear red, white, and blue. Well, the group I'm part of, were called the General Washington, blah, 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 blah. So we decided to all just dress up as General Washingtons. Well, that would have given us 4 General Washingtons, so I decided to be the weirdo, the good weirdo. I'm trying to give that a positive spin, by the way, as Martha Washington.
Love it. And
so the same friend, Kim, I did not know it. So I just sent out a quick, like, hey, does anybody have colonial gear? She's like, yeah, my mom and I used to make this stuff in high school as part of a group that did colonial dress up. I'm like, what? So come over to the house. She had several colonial, like her mom, so with petticoat, like everything. Wow. So I was like, one, I don't have to make it or buy it because it was gonna be for one thing. So I borrowed all her stuff. Nice. I walked down. Got there before my Georges showed up. So I was down there, and it was just all these people dressed up in red, white, and blue. And this woman saw me and went, what are you wearing? That's not red, white, and blue. Why are you here? Yeah, like it seriously hit me in the chest that, and I stopped, and I just looked at her like, and the woman next to us, thankfully, I just needed a minute, I think, to catch my breath. She went, you know, the theme was patriotism. Yeah. It didn't say red, white, and blue. I'm like, yes, right. I am Martha Washington. I'm also, because I'm reading Hamilton right now, I'm channeling Eliza Hamilton because I think she's really cool. And then she went, oh, well, and the other woman kind of defended me, which was really great. Then my Georges showed up. And once all of us were together, that woman really felt small, I found out later, because everyone else was dressed in red, white, and blue. We were the only ones that went outside that box, and it looked really cool. And I had 3 husbands all night, which I thought was pretty cool, too.
Very cool. Very cool. So, and again, empowered women empower other women. That's how it should be.
And
absolutely.
One of the Georges was a woman.
Nice. I love it.
I had 2 men and 1 woman.
Perfect. So
partners.
That does lead into what I think you were going to answer earlier. So when did you start dressing up? If you don't mind, this is a multi-layered question. When did you start dressing up? What motivated you? And what influenced your first character?
I have always liked to dress up, and I always liked to do Halloween, and it grew out from when I was a child, although I do still have pictures of dressed like a witch. And growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so my mom had some extra green yarn for my hair. And
the yarn
and
wig,
things like that. Yeah, the yarn wig.
Love it.
And so it was.
Oh, kids today aren't going to know what that is,
too.
We used to make yarn wigs.
Google it.
So I've always liked that, and actually that's how the Boba Fett costume was really my first elaborate costume that I made. Was a Halloween event as a young adult, and I didn't care about it or what other perceived it. But I was also with a close-knit group of friends, and so I knew I was already accepted into that group. As I've gotten older, really what was the catalyst for dressing up as much as I do now was when I was diagnosed with ocular melanoma
5 years ago, which is a very rare eye cancer. So it only occurs in 5 out of 1 million people. So I joked that I won the unluckiest lottery. And I should have gotten some scratch-offs that day, I think, too. And that's a whole process. If anyone has been on a cancer journey or knows someone who has, or any type of chronic health condition, it can alter your viewpoint and how you view life and what makes you happy. And that is when I really wanted to start focusing on what makes me happy and living outside of the fear of what is someone going to say about me, or what is the look I'm going to get. And it was a work in progress. I didn't get there overnight, and it took some time and some personal development. And I think initially it was a combination that year. I had already started to do some pirate, but it was leftover clothes from my husband, who also dresses up. And
They look great at the masquerade ball every year, by the way.
and he had his own extra stuff that I just wore. And to be honest, as far as, adapting things, is that at the time I wasn't sure if I was going to lose my eye or not. I do still have it, but I don't see well out of it. Just don't ask me to pour anything, because you might be wearing it instead of it being in the bottle or a cup.
Depth perception?
Yes, I have no depth perception. So I thought, oh, well then, I'll get a really cool eye patch, and that just fits in,
nice.
and I embraced it. And I'm fortunate I still have my biological eye. And it just grew from there. So then it grew into the vintage looks, and it makes me happy. And that's really what it comes down to, is it makes me feel good, and maybe that brushes up against some societal norms, but I don't care anymore. Because what I feel is what's most important.
Valid.
And it grows from there. So yeah, if I go to tea or I just go to dinner, I'll be, we haven't decided where we're going to dinner tonight, but I'll be like this. I've been out, Marie Antoinette outfit. I've been in my goddess
wig is
outfit.
Amazing.
It just goes from there.
She's got some great stuff.
That was the catalyst for me. And but back in the day, the first main one was Boba Fett, and it really was just because I've always been enamored with Boba Fett, and I have my own little shrine with all sorts of collectibles and memorabilia and signed things, and I fangirl out about it, and it's grown from there. But I never would have imagined at that point that I'd be doing it, and more in a almost day-to-day environment that I do now. And I love that about myself.
Nice.
So mine, I actually started thinking about it while you were talking, and my dad, which it's been 3 years, but it still feels like yesterday, lost. And he loved Halloween. He loved making things. And it was always something. So growing up, my full name is Gwendolyn Steele. Where I grew up in Ohio, there was a GW sugar factory. It was a box of sugar, like Domino's sugar boxes. And my Aunt Patty used to call me GW Sugar. And he was like, we're going to make you a GW sugar box. And it wasn't just him. We did it together, and he made me into a GW sugar box for Halloween. And my sister was Arm & Hammer baking soda. Which I don't know if she was happy about, but you get what you get when you're the younger sister.
Worst sidekick ever.
Super Arm & Hammer baking soda. And he would just have so much fun doing that, and it got me excited about it. So Halloween was my way that was like craft time. And then I grew to my height and weight early. So I was a full-grown adult when I was 12-ish. And hated it. I was taller than in junior high, I was taller than all the boys and every teacher I had. I was wearing adult clothing, and I was around all these tiny people. So I felt Amazonian, so hence why I tend to go Amazon route.
Perfect.
But Halloween was a way to do whatever I wanted. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to let how I feel about my body stop me from this. I one year for Halloween went as Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and I was pretty large at the time, but I made it work.
Yeah.
I remember where there was a lot of duct tape involved.
Yeah.
I actually dyed my hair black.
Okay.
That took a while to get out. Don't recommend that next time. Wig. But my dad would really get into the making of it. Like, it was a crafty hobby, and the way he thought about how to make stuff really got me excited about it. But again, the other outfits were about just feeling different. I always loved Halloween, but later in life, I had some self-esteem problems about how I was doing in my job, and if I was a great worker. I was taught work harder, and you don't need the compliments. And one day, at a corporate job, I was in charge of these large events, and everything went off great. It was this huge event in London. I had to do most of it through email and phone, and it was spectacular. And they called me Wonder Gwen, and that's how that started.
very
And one of my birthdays at that office, someone found a Princess Gwendolyn game. And they were like, her name's Gwendolyn, let's get it for her. And they put it on my chair. They made my chair look like a throne in my cube. They got me this, this is an Etsy-made cape. And they put, because back then I was trying to figure out my moniker, it actually says Steele Chick on the inside of it. They had this on the chair. They had, not this tiara, a tiara up there. And they kind of got me to realize that I need to embrace this Wonder Gwen thing and feel okay about it. It's cool that I made this great event. It's not showing off. I was around people, or my upbringing, not so much from my dad, but somebody got it into my head. I wish I could remember who, that it was just do good things, but don't. You're not supposed to take credit for it. And they taught me, no, Wonder Gwen did that. That's pretty darn cool. And then the other thing I learned from those events was, again, because I did a lot of it through phone and email, they didn't meet me until the week before or at the event. And they're trying to find Gwen Steele, and everyone's wearing badges, and everyone's wearing trade show stuff. So I would show up with either my cape or my tiara, and I go, find the lady walking around in a cape and tiara, and that's me. And they're like, oh my God, you made it so easy to find you at this event. You're welcome.
Way to stand out.
And then I also felt empowered. Like, people were like, oh, she's in charge, the girl with the tiara or the cape. She must be in charge. Let's go ask her questions. And that's how people could find me. But yeah, a lot of it was from my dad, and feeling empowered, and owning feeling like an Amazon, owning feeling tall and gawky and huge. I was good at sports. I was always athletic and felt bad about that. And
Because it's not feminine?
yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to be more feminine, and in my mind, femininity was tiny and less muscular. And then I realized over time, no, that's not your feminine. It's not my feminine, and it could be anything. And then going through different weight. So a long time ago, I lost 130 pounds, and I've kept it off. And I remember thinking how different people treated me and during that wait time, and being strong or being smart was also about how I looked too. And that's when I put those together, and how people look at you. And again, I can't control that. That was the other thing I had to learn, was to give that up. Like, if they're looking at you and thinking you're lazy because you're overweight, that's their problem and not mine. Being a weightlifter got me over being too muscular. I just leaned into it. So I became a weightlifter. No one bothered me then. Yeah, I just went, okay, then I'm just going to go full on buff. And when I look at those pictures, I'm not. In my head, I thought I was. But I look at them and I'm like, oh, I'm just a regular person weightlifting. But that got me over it by leaning into it. So I think this is also a way of leaning into those emotions or what you're dealing with, and realizing we all have something going on. We're all struggling with something. Everyone is.
Yeah.
And to your point, just be happy. Like, if this makes me happy, lady who got mad at me that I wasn't wearing red, white, and blue, I'm fine. You do you. I'm good. I'm good over here.
And that's actually a question I wanted to ask too. So we're seeing you at a much later stage of your Empowered by Cosplay journey, whereas there are those of us who haven't started it or are very, very couple steps in. So what are some things that you had to do on a daily basis to make you, not make you, sorry, to help you be who you are now? Like, were there mantras? Were there affirmations? Were there other people speaking into you that you can speak into other people? What are some things that really helped you in this journey get to where you are now from where you started?
I had different people, the kindness of one, or the effect of one kind word. Because even when I was heavy, I had a couple of people say, "You're really beautiful," you know, and I was, "What? Are you sure you're talking to me?" Say that kind word to somebody, because again, everyone's struggling at something. But I'm laughing in my head because this concept of bunny hurdles keeps coming up in my life. Bunny hurdles, tiny little things. So I started maybe with socks, maybe with the tiara. One year, so back in the Midwest, you bowl a lot. So I was in bowling leagues, and you win trophies. But nowadays, they're not big trophies. They're actually pins and patches. I didn't want a coat covered in that. I didn't know what I wanted to do with them. I just knew I wanted to do something with them. So you know those sashes they wear at...
Beauty pageants?
Yes, beauty pageants. Man. Beauty pageant sashes. So I made one, and I put all my bowling trophies on it.
Nice.
And that used to be something I'd wear on my birthday, or if I felt bad about something, I'm like, I got a 200 game, so back off. It started little with me, little things. There was a couple negative times. I mean, you're a teenager, you're a kid, even a young adult, where people are going to think you're weird, and you're very worried about what everyone else thinks about. And I don't want to poo-poo that. You do. I still do. But as you get older, please know that gets much easier, and you just don't care anymore. But when you're younger, it does. I had enough of my own anxiety in my head about not fitting in because of not looking a certain way that, of course, I didn't want to be on the fringes, but I feel like enough times in my life, people gave me that kind word or a word of affirmation, or the people that didn't, I didn't like their game anyway. Like, if I stood back and looked at the kind of friends they had, or,
Right.
wow, they're angry all the time. What do I care they think about me? If I allowed myself to think of those, step back from it,
Right.
and just let it go, yeah, it didn't. I learned how to not let it bother me. But I think just if you're starting off in this, Belle's just wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt, and it looks awesome.
Yes.
I think that goes back to our point about it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It could be one little thing. It could be a way you wear your makeup. It could be, and that goes for they, he and she and they.
Yes.
How you wear your makeup, how you wear your hair, how you wear jewelry. I just saw the other day, don't judge a book by its cover. I was sitting at Raven's Nest, and this guy came out from probably Lotus Nail Spa. He was walking gingerly because he had the crappy flip-flops because he just got a pedicure.
Yes.
And his nails were bright turquoise blue, and he looked like the most burly truck driver-y looking guy you've ever seen.
Love it.
Big beard. I almost wanted to see a beer in his hand, kind of like our
Yes.
persona of that. And he had these dazzling nails, and he got in his pickup truck and he drove off, and I was like,
Fantastic. I love it.
right? What the heck? It made him happy.
And I know for me, and an inspiration for feeling empowered, I've actually found from drag queens. And just their personas on stage, and then also hearing their personal stories of, why they got into drag and the things that they've had to go through, which I personally cannot identify with, is inspirational to me. And there are times, even now, when I did it last night, I use music a lot of times also to help put me in an empowering mood. So last night, when I was getting ready for the contest, I have a Viking station that I've become in love with, and that just fires me up like nobody's
Music.
business. And so I had that. So and then
Paint
today, with knowing that this panel was coming, and my previous panel, I have a playlist, and a lot of it is RuPaul songs,
Yes.
and a lot of other songs that get me fired up. Besides RuPaul, Lizzo is also one that also fires me up, and so that also just helps me personify. And I think, as far as, also speaking to just getting started, is putting on something that, and you can just, just in your house, and sitting with yourself and feeling, how do I feel while I have this on? And maybe that's just a couple little breaths. Maybe it's looking at yourself in the mirror. Maybe it's not. Maybe you don't want to do that at all. But just focusing on how you are feeling while you have that on. And just go with that and build upon how it makes you feel. And then if you feel empowered to, step outside with that, great. If not, then that's fine. Then just wear it around your house.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that you want to come to a huge public event and show it off. If it's just for you and no one else sees it, then that's awesome.
Play Animal Crossing in a ball gown. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it could also be for like a joke. My unicorn head. So back in corporate world, this thing is kind of scary.
It's terrifying. Oh, the eyes. Oh, my gosh. Oh, she's got the gloves.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
So,
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to talk as this. So back in the day, I worked at a corporation that was in they built a corporate park with hotels, and they called it Unicorn Park in the middle of Massachusetts. It was not a unicorn park, but it was called Unicorn Park. So I thought it'd be funny, like, I would ask people who would visit, like, did you see the unicorn down the street? And they're like, what? There's no, did you see the unicorn? I would just try to make a joke about it to, like, an icebreaker in the room. But then it went further when I was just Googling, like, is there such a thing as a unicorn mask? And look what I found, with hooves. So we were all joking around, and Jen goes, she was my designer, she goes, are you going to order that? I'm like, oh, yes, I am. And I would randomly show up, and not with huge, like, lots of people around. It would just be sometimes just my close group or my friends. And I would be outside the window like, or I'd run by. And then I'd come in the office, did you see the unicorn? Did you see the unicorn? So it could also be something.
Where you're just, it gets hot in there, where you're just being funny. And that's how the unicorn thing started again with me. And then my mother reminded me that I used to love unicorns as a kid. And I went, oh my gosh. And so she pulled out all this stuff. And so I like to crossbreed my Wonder Woman with my unicorn. But yeah, that started with that. But what's funny is sometimes this would scare people. Because it's a little weird looking. But we would sometimes just cut out unicorns and put them outside, or we would put like brown M&Ms and say it was unicorn poop out in the yard. Yeah, we were just being stupid because it was called Unicorn Park and we couldn't figure out why in the middle of Massachusetts. And so, that's how that part started, and then it just kept going. The unicorn part just kept going from there, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is put on your costume, put on a good playlist,
Yes.
lean in, and when you get too much in your feels, take a step back
Yes.
and reassess.
There we
I like
go.
it. So there's the recipe for empowerment through cosplay. Excellent.
Our book will be out soon.
All right. So earlier you mentioned specifically research on the transformation element of cosplay. So we've talked about the more the personal part of it, and so now let's get into the ethos of it. So what research is out there for how and why one does transform when they're wearing that costume?
I know you're relying on me.
It takes a minute to pull the research. That's okay.
Yep, I just lost my empowerment. Hold on. Everything's on Google. Here it is. Do you mind if I just read from this? Is that all right?
You do you.
Okay. Cosplay, this is from somebody who's struggling from mental health, and they were being interviewed. Cosplaying has helped me a lot when it comes to coping with and has had a positive impact on my mental health. I struggle with a lot of things, including anxiety and major depressive disorder, and also physical health issues. POTS, and EDS, and that affect me mentally as well. Cosplaying helps temporarily put off the stress of my health. There was also cosplaying can provide a sense of empowerment through, for marginalized identities. Cosplay can be particularly empowering. It allows someone to experience and explore the feelings of being in control, of actualizing freedom, of being heroic, or sensing oneself as physically strong if they are not. Being revered and respected. For cosplayers who dress as characters opposite their expressed gender, that can also be empowering. The ability to embody and be seen as having traits that aren't typically owned by that gender. So let's say you're a female who like being the muscular.
Right.
Didn't feel feminine. I would dress up to feel like the Princess Gwendolyn was great because that allowed me to be a princess.
Yes.
But same on the other side, somebody who is gender he but maybe wants to express some things that aren't the norm for that he, cosplay allows you to do that without having to give up your identity in any kind of way. They're showing there's lots and lots of, the more research that is done in these groups where they are having them, like the one I said before, they're wearing a lab coat versus a paint coat. They're wearing something red versus wearing something green. All that research is showing, and it looks like that one was out of Northwestern, that there isn't a negative side until someone else comes in and says something about it. When it's just that person dealing with it, it's pretty much positive outcome, positive feedback from that research. And it is, and they're doing more of it. As we're looking at different ways of expressing yourself, there's more and more of the research.
So there's not really a danger of like actually becoming the villain just because you dress like one?
No, it's allowing you to deal with maybe some emotions that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Awesome.
Like a therapy.
And that is the end of my questions. So at this point, we're going to take audience questions. So if you have a question or comment or anything, we would like you to line up behind this mic over here. And please do use the mic. We are broadcasting. And please don't be shy. It usually only takes one person to lean in and be brave.
Didn't we just say
ask
that?
the question. So by all means, go ahead, line up. Anyone want to have a question or concern or a comment?
Or just share your own little story if you have one.
Yes, please do. Show me.
Something that made you, or even if it happened today or yesterday at Cosplay, Comic-Con.
Give him a hand. Great job.
Yay! We got Spider-Man here.
Well, I've always enjoyed doing it as a kid, you know, like doing Halloween, like I never really cared about the candy anyway.
Right,
You know,
just
I
dress
was
up.
always, you know, I want to be a character, you know, I'm like a little bit, like I got maybe a little bit of an acting bug. I mean, it's something I just express myself through, and like, you know, it is very empowering. Like, you know, you can become that character, you know, especially if you're playing like a really over-the-top character, you know. Halloween, like, you know, I always put on a show for the kids. I do voices and everything, so.
Nice. Tell them what you were last night.
Oh, I was Captain America last night, you know, Steve Rogers, one of my favorite characters, and today I'm Spider-Man, another favorite character. I honestly probably relate to Peter Parker more than anybody.
Oh, nice. So it's always been a positive experience for you then.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Nice.
Definitely. I mean, as of now, I'm actually working at Liberty Tax. You know, I'm basically doing the same thing, just getting paid for it. I'm sure, you know, some of you probably see me on the side of the road. I'm
I
the
waved
Statue of
at
Liberty.
you.
Liberty
coming
Tax,
from work, yeah.
Did you ever wear the gorilla suit?
Well, usually, you know, they just require to wear you the Statue of Liberty costume.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, I mean, if they let me wear other stuff, you know, you better believe it.
I was getting good. I think you should bring it up.
I think you
Yeah.
should push for it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
exactly.
I think that would get more
Well,
response than,
I mean-
oh, it's that, yeah.
Or just my uncle was just, you know, maybe I wear Captain America's suit. You
Yeah,
know.
I think you
It's really
should.
patriotic.
Yeah, there you go. Thank
But,
you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share.
Thank you. We
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. Empowerment right there. I think everyone. Go ahead, Bill.
Since we have girls on the run here, how can we empower young girls to start to bring out their inner superhero?
Yes. I thought about it a little bit when you said the music, because my playlist is all chick. I have all songs written by women as my superpower, get my mojo on type of playlist. I think it's also generational. I'm learning as I'm listening to other girls and women at other ages how we are brought up and how we think about ourselves and how we minimize ourselves. We don't even let anybody else do it. We do it to ourselves. I remember saying, I'm sorry for everything. And realizing that my boy cousins weren't taught that. They didn't apologize for everything they did all the time, and I always did. And I remember having that moment of, oh, wait a minute. And again, probably why I like Wonder Woman. She is she's a god. I mean, come on. She is very powerful, but she did it in a way that is also almost naive. She was always, if you've seen the recent movies and some of the Linda Carter stuff, that's what I grew up with. Well, why can't we just do it that way? Or why can't I just talk to this person? Or I'm just going to go to the front. Like, it's almost a ignorance is bliss type of, that's just what I'm going to do. And a kindness about her power. Don't take it for granted. Don't push it on somebody else. Don't overtake somebody. Let somebody else have the forefront. The problem with that, that I noticed in dealing with women and girls, is sometimes we're so used to making sure everyone else gets their moment and goes first and no after you. And we're taught that if I go up front and grab what I really want, that's not a good feminine attribute to have. I think cosplay is a great way to help yourself, a therapy to get over that hurdle. And again, not in a malicious way. You're not doing this mean. You're not saying the other person is bad or wrong. You're just saying, I am this. That's what we have to get out of the norm, is by saying I did this great thing, or owning being Wonder Gwen and that I know what I'm doing or I'm good at something, is not making everyone else down. It's, we're all good. This is just what I'm good at, and period, end of sentence. Not, and then you're this. Girls on the Run, I can't wait. I'm going to be a coach. I'm so excited. Is one of those great ways. And I know in just dealing with, a long time ago, I used to teach Sunday school, and a lot of the girls, if they did apologize too much, I remember saying something to them, or back to being an example. And you don't have to think of yourself as always being an example, but just being powerful and speaking up once in a while, coming up to the mic or saying what's on your mind allows someone else to do that. And if you do it in front of, if you're a woman and you do it in front of another woman or do it in front of a girl, they realize, oh, that's allowed. And again, I'm not doing it in a way where I'm screaming. I'm not doing it in a way where I'm saying anything negative. I'm doing it in a positive. My therapist taught me caring and authentic. Hopefully she's looking at this. She'll go, woohoo. It doesn't mean you're trying to be better than someone else. It just means you are being your best self. And that allows other people to be their best selves, not down. They're not lower than you. So I think I'm so happy to see more superheroes, characters that are strong, that are women, that are of different color, that are of different gender identities, that are just, even if it's just what we think is the average human, what's their superpower? Maybe thinking outside the box with that as well. I don't know if you want to add anything.
You've hit on some great points, and I think especially with young girls, and is normalizing it, which you touched on. And I think also usually, young girls, young kids in general, want to dress up. They want to play dress up. And then keep encouraging that, and then don't let, now you're this age, you can't do that now, or no, that's silly, and I think just encouraging them to be who they are and letting them feel what they want to feel, I think also helps to encourage them if they want to keep dressing up. Mm-hmm. And, are there certain characters or superheroes or anything, that they feel good about?
It could be a scientist. It could be
and yes, I mean, it can be all sorts of things, and just encouraging it instead of shutting it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no negative. And that goes with boys too. If they want to dress up, go crazy. I guess the way to think about it too is what are the piece parts to it? Building something, creating something, problem solving, troubleshooting, other skills are involved. And if you bring those into it, then they can also feel empowered that, oh, I figured out how to make this, or I learned how to sew because of it, or some personal pride about it is another way to get girls in. Thank you.
I like that latter part about they learn the skills of like building, creating, sewing. It's kind of the bigger pictures you're allowing them to conceptualize.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And think about the bigger picture and their identity fitting into that.
Right.
Like, what's my concept here? It's not just a cape. It's like this person or character could be a whole world. So
Yeah, they can write a whole story about it, and maybe the cape is just the end part that they make at the end, and to them it was about this creating the character. Or somebody who's more hands-on, maybe making the outfit is more interesting and not the backstory, and their character doesn't have a backstory. That's fine too. Just finding your niche part of it and just leaning into that part. And again, don't let anyone try not to, and it's really hard when you're a parent, you're a grandparent, you're an aunt and uncle. It's not your norm, so your first reaction might be, well, that's kind of weird. I guess us learning not to do that.
And I will say that's one thing that I've always been a tomboy, and most of my interests have always been in male-dominated spaces. And while I did have some Barbies, mainly I had, Matchbox cars, and I still have those today. And that was just always something. And I remember my mom telling me, later in life that there was finally a point where she stopped trying to put me in a dress. Because I didn't want to be in a dress, and then I wanted to be out doing rambunctious things where then maybe that wasn't ladylike to wear a dress. And so she finally just stopped. And then there were a lot of times where she would tell me that they'd be out somewhere, and at one point in time, my grandmother, decided to cut off my hair. I don't know. Anyway, and so people thought I was then a boy, and my mom just didn't care, and she let me be me. And I know that can also be very rare, and I'm very blessed with that. And it just stuck to it. In fact, she still has, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and so we would go to the shore in Jersey for vacation. And there was just a print, and it's a drawing or a painting of a child sitting like on a deck near the beach, and you're looking from behind, and it resembles what I looked like at the time. You don't know the gender of the child, but it always reminded that of me. The painting reminded her of me, and she still has it in her bedroom today. And so I think that it's being open and willing to be open to what your child is wanting to be. Now, I know that could also be a whole nother discussion.
Yeah. Now we're getting into, but being a little, maybe they're working something out. Maybe they don't know how to express what they're working out. Maybe this is your way of listening without listening. Just watching them build something, maybe a way for you to, oh, that's what they're trying to work their way through, so.
Well, I just happened in here today because it said empowerment, and I'm an empowerment coach. So I didn't know anything about cosplay, but I help people to find their power and walk in it. And what you were saying, I was this tall at 12.
Yeah.
So I thought I was.
Yeah, I was. Yep.
I thought I was going to be a giant.
Yeah, you do. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to stop growing.
Yeah. So, but it's so important. What you all have been saying today has caused me to look at a different side of empowerment, which is important. And it's like, and what you said about feeling like an Amazon, I felt like an Amazon woman, but I loved it and embraced it. I thought it was cool. And it was like, look, the difference that we thought about being an Amazon woman. And even on my business card, I have a super figure. And it says, "Arise from the Phoenix."
Yeah.
Arise like the Phoenix.
Yes. That's owning it.
So I'm like, I'm really into this and didn't know it.
Yeah, you are. You're a cosplay player. Yeah, there you go. Welcome to our lovely tribe.
Undercover cosplay. New workshop.
Yeah, and we want to see your outfit next year. And it could just be socks. Yeah, it's so funny that I think the reason I got into sports was to own my Amazon-y feeling. And then after a while, I realized, thankfully, I was always in co-ed sports because it was always through the church. It was through my Lutheran church. So it was always boys and girls playing with each other. And unfortunately, I got to that age where, right after 13 or 14, where the boys didn't want me on their team anymore. And I was pretty good, but that was very threatening to them. Which weirdly went to my first job at 14. I started to be the statistician for that league because I was good at math. And so I was in charge of the books, I was in charge of the arrow, the time clock, adults all the way down to little kids, everything at the Y, because they didn't want me to play, but I knew all the rules, so the league hired me to be in charge of the table, which was its own kind of power. Let me tell you, when grown men referees come to you because they can't remember the rule or which way the arrow is going, and this 14-year-old girl was so cool. So I got it out in a different way. But unfortunately, I did hit a barrier with the sports where in the high school I went to didn't have a lot other than basketball. And at that level, my high school was way beyond my skills as a high school player, as a basketball player. So I couldn't live up to that. And we didn't have volleyball and we didn't have tennis team. And those were the other things that I was good at. But I found a lot of it through the church, but then I found it through being the statistician and knowing all the rules. My dad was an umpire, so then he taught me all the rules of baseball. And so that got me into feeling empowered about being someone who knew all those rules. When people would argue about it, I'm like, oh no, that's blah, 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 and oh really? And kind of they give me a look too, because whatever they think about someone who knows the rules of baseball, she doesn't look like this in their heads. And so for me to know that rule or know something was very, so I think that's how I dealt with it at a point, was trying to find a way to feel good about it. But and I still struggle with feeling like the Amazon woman, honestly. I want to be a little more feminine sometimes, and I feel like I come off as like bull in a china shop, but that's all right. I think we're good on time, yeah.
Oh, we're doing great on
Yeah.
time. I actually have a question now. This is very, so one thing that has come up in the conversation was being an example, being a leader, and then also to your point of, you have a group that you are influencing in these girls. So what are some things that you can do as someone who finds himself in a position of influence over someone who needs that empowerment? And I think if we really think about it, I think everyone can think of at least one other person that they have an influence over. So what are some good things to think about and some good things to focus on and lean into to help empower those who, without being pushy about it, obviously,
Yeah.
but, what can you do?
I think sometimes it's also just leading by example. So when I, especially in more recent history, decided, this is what I want to do, is I just want to dress up. And so I just do it without needing Halloween or anything. And I think then that shows that it's okay to do that. So it's also like I'm almost waving an imaginary, wand to give everyone permission that you can just do that if that's what makes you feel good. And that's actually something that I, as a result of my cancer diagnosis, pivoting my business to encourage others to do what makes them feel good. And if that's dressing up, then all the more for it. And I think I've had people that have when I'm out and about and they've come up to me and have made comments about, oh man, I wish I could do that. I'm like, well, then why not?
Yeah.
You could.
Like, what could be possible if you just go ahead and do the thing?
Isn't there like, I feel like you just keep asking the question, and then what? I can't do that because, well, what will happen? And then they say,
Oh,
well, I'll
yes.
get, and well, then what happened? Well, then what happened? And you get down to it and they're like, oh, I guess nothing really
Be
will
a toddler
happen.
about it. But why? But why?
Yeah,
But
just
why?
give and of course, we can give all that kinds of advice, but we're also humans who don't either stick to our own advice all the time, but I love your lead by example. People are aware of how you are as a human all the time, whether you know it or not, and I always forget that. Just being kind to other people, being open about their outfits, just complimenting other about their outfits, or again, cosplay outfits.
Ask them about it.
Yeah, allows people to feel open to discuss it or not discuss it, or allows them to be okay with it, not be okay with it. The lead by example, I think, is the best way. And like I said earlier, just a kind word.
Yeah.
And not fake kind word. But if you actually pop in your head, oh, that cape was really cool, or the way they dressed today, if they're dressing up in cosplay or not, or the way they did this. If in your head popped, I just want to say that was cool, or I want to say thank you for doing it, do it.
Yeah.
It's not weird. And you don't know that one little word that you said to that person could have changed their angle of how they feel about themselves, about what they're doing in life, just a smidgen enough to where you changed their lives just by one little nice word. Like that person, the heaviest I ever was, I don't know how heavy I was. I know I was over 360, but I don't remember the number. Someone said I was beautiful, and I just remember going, oh. And it wasn't a parent that was supposed to tell you you're pretty. It was somebody else, and oh, really? And it was just that one kind word. And it took forever. I mean, I didn't all of a sudden, I am beautiful, right out the gate from one person saying it, but it was a kind word.
It planted that seed.
It did.
And so I think that's another word that keeps coming is just authenticity. Whether you're on the giving end, or the receiving end, authenticity. Show up authentically as yourself and honor the authenticity in others.
Yeah.
I like that. So as far as more questions from the audience, y'all are also absolutely welcome to ask questions about cosplaying specifically. Maybe you've got a character in your head and you're like, I have no idea how to make this happen. They have run the gamut of costumes and they've been in this world for a while. By all means, step up to the microphone and be like, okay, so here's what I've got. What can I do with it? We'd love to hear your ideas. I would love that. But by all means, we've got plenty of time. Continue asking questions, making comments. The floor is open.
Or you don't have to.
No pressure. Be authentically you, whatever it looks like.
I'm authentically taking that off because my arm's getting sweaty.
Valid.
And itchy. Sometimes you can't wear the outfit too long. This one in particular gets very sweaty.
I'm sure.
Yeah, rubber always does that.
Yeah, that's a tricky one to wear all the time.
Particularly, Halloween, I could wear Michael Myers mask. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm curious if the people that are here in this room, if there's anyone that has not dressed up but has thought about doing it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So there, for people that didn't look around the room, there's more than one person.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
There was several hands. You're not alone.
Yeah.
That's the best part about this. Is you're not alone.
Yeah.
Adding on to her question, what would hold you back from dressing up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what?
I raised my hand.
No, you're good. You're good.
What would you?
But what, for the other folks who raised their hand, I didn't look around. What holds you back hypothetically?
What has been holding you back from cosplaying? So what might hold you back? What has been holding you back? Absolutely.
Could just be a word.
Fear,
Fear.
Fear, definitely.
or just lack of resources. Like, where do you go to get this type of stuff? You know?
Yeah.
Amazon.
Amazon.
I'm pretty fearless, but I am fearful.
Yeah.
Of looking like, not necessarily silly in front of others, but just not my own expectation. Like, darn, it's not going to be like one
It's not going to look exactly like her outfit. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And I struggle with that as well with
I've,
my
I've
Wonder
been
Woman.
there too.
Yeah.
There's stuff where I had it in my head, this is going to be amazing, and I put it on and I absolutely hate it and I hate myself and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And that, and then that's okay. And you're allowed to feel that way.
Yes.
I'm a big proponent of, you're allowed to feel all the feels.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is not, unicorns and rainbows all the time, and that's okay. But it is, sourcing. Yes, I do use Amazon, and sometimes that can be a hit or miss when you're doing online shopping.
Correct.
But also, Googling, you
Yeah.
can, what you're looking for. And
YouTube.
seeing
You
what
said
pops
YouTube
up.
earlier. Yeah. How to make a headband.
And
Put
even-
that in.
Even TikTok, like, so I
Yeah.
got these ears and they don't quite match my human ears, but then I saw a TikTok cosplayer put the hair in front. I'm like, that's genius and I'm doing it.
Yeah, see?
So that's
one
what I
little.
did.
Yeah. And
Don't be afraid to type into the search engine,
Yeah.
how do I do this? Because believe it or not, it's there and it'll show you. Somebody did a video on it.
Yeah.
Somebody did a video on how to make this kind of headband.
I'm also a huge believer in if you ask the question constantly, the answer will come to you.
Yes.
So if you're focusing on your cosplaying, for those of you who are just thinking about getting into it, you'll start noticing ways to make it work for you. So just keep asking that question, putting that question out there.
And again, like vintage stores, consignment stores, thrift shops,
Goodwill.
different types of like antique, like Minuteman Mini Mall. I have found vintage items there. Things like that. You try to, can think about the box. So you can source things together without being, a whole specific.
And you can take a bunch of stuff and spray paint it silver, spray
Yes.
paint it black. You could, if I wanted to be like, I could probably take these ears off, put some like other horns on it, spray paint it all black, and now I'm like a cool little evil goat thing, like
Yes.
tearing apart things, and that could just be fun just to do to see where it ends up. I may never wear it, but I'm gonna see where that took me. But spray paint, glue gun, any kind of fabric, any kind of ribbon.
Dremel tool.
Yes.
I used that when I was doing my Boba Fett armor. I
Dremel
used
tool, yeah.
a Dremel tool to create the
Zip ties.
Yeah, there's, and a lot of it too is just ask people.
Yeah.
That
If
just
you know people that
that
do
just
this.
remind me of race day. The Gold Cup comes around, and my friends and I all wanted to go, but we did not want to buy elaborate hats. But women wear the cool hat things. So I went on and bought a bunch of black. The only thing I bought was the headband part, and told everyone to come over to my house. We had a party where we made hat things and fascinators, and I brought out paper plates. I had big fake flowers. We had rubber things. We had glitter. We had sequins, and they were all shades of weird. But the fact that all 5 of us showed up with these that we handmade ourselves, we were and everyone's like, I've never seen hats like that. I'm like, that's because we made them. And mine was bright orange with purple, and it was completely weird, but it was so much fun. And we just had a play date of making fascinators.
Hold on a second.
That clock's not right. That clock's an hour behind.
Well, that makes so much
Gotcha.
sense. Thank you for letting me know. It has been wonderful. Y'all have been an amazing audience. And can we give our panelists a hand? They have been fantastic. All right, y'all, go out, be creative, lean into it. And when you get too much in your feels, take a step back, get your playlist, put on your gown, go play Animal Crossing, do what you got to do, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.